Perhaps you have seen the little orange RSS, MP3, or XML podcast buttons on the site and wondered what they do. In this tutorial, we will show you one of their functions: how to sign up for a podcast from the Sermon Audio website. In order to use this feature, you will need to first make sure that you have a podcast catching software such as iTunes, Zune, or FeedDemon installed. In this example, we will show you how to set up a podcast from Sermon Audio using both the Apple iTunes and Microsoft Zune software. A podcast, in simple terms, is just a way for you to get the media content you want automatically. It used to be that you had to find the content, go to the site, download the files, and then copy them to your device for listening. Podcasting now enables you to automate the entire process. All you do is add the feed you want, and the files are automatically downloaded and synced with your MP3 device. The MP3s come to you as they are posted to the site. You do not have to go and look for them. So how do you do this on Sermon Audio? Look for the little orange button. Clicking on this button will pop out a list of things you can do, and for this tutorial, all we are concerned with is the top section. To subscribe to a feed using iTunes, click on the iTunes link. If you have the iTunes software installed on your computer, a podcast feed will be automatically added to iTunes. Note that the last several sermons that were posted show up, and the last one posted has already begun to download. You can click on any of the previous podcasts to download them as well, but any future podcasts will download without your having to do a thing. You can see here that several of the feeds that I have previously subscribed to are already automatically downloading newly available content in the background. Each time you open your podcast software, and at a set interval after it is opened, it automatically checks each feed you have subscribed to, and if there is new content available, it will automatically download it for you. You do not need to go and see if there has been a sermon added by your favorite broadcaster or speaker. They will come to you, and the next time you sync your iPod with your computer, these files will be copied to your MP3 player. To stop a file that is downloading, click on the X here. You can unsubscribe and remove podcasts just as simply. To unsubscribe, click on the podcast and then click on the unsubscribe button here. You can also right-click on the podcast and select unsubscribe. Notice that this removes from your list any individual podcasts that were not downloaded or scheduled to be downloaded yet. It will leave any files that have been downloaded or were scheduled to be downloaded alone, and any future podcasts will not be downloaded. If you want to remove a whole feed, or an individual podcast episode, or in this case sermon, entirely, you can select it and hit the delete key on the keyboard, or right-click on it and select delete from the list. Then click on remove. You will then be asked an important question. If you no longer want the sermons that you have received via podcast, select the recycle bin option. If you do want to keep the sermons but no longer want to receive the feed, select the keep file option, and this will remove the podcast feed but leave the files you already have downloaded on your computer. The steps for Zune are very similar. First, click on the orange button, and then click on the Microsoft Zune link. This will open the Zune software if you already have it installed on your system and present you with a question. Click on the OK button, and you have just subscribed to the podcast feed. You will notice the podcast feeds in the left-hand window, and when you click on the one you just subscribed to, you will see the files have already begun to download just as they did in iTunes. To cancel a download, right-click on it and select Cancel. Unsubscribing from a podcast by clicking here will give you the option to completely remove the podcast and the files already downloaded, or remove the feed but leave the files on the system. Delete a podcast completely by right-clicking on the podcast and selecting Delete here. Sometimes you will need to manually add a podcast. This is more often the case when using software like FeedDemon, but it can also be done in both iTunes and in Zune. To add a podcast feed manually, right-click on the XML podcast link here and copy the data to your program in the appropriate location. For the Zune software, it is here. Simply paste the link and hit subscribe, and you are done. For each program, it will be located in a different location, but you should be able to find it by looking for a link or button that says Add Podcast or something similar. You may have noticed a video link next to each of the podcast links in the previous steps. These are video-only feeds. and will podcast only the video sermons that are excluded in the MP3 feeds. You can read more about the feeds available from Sermon Audio and how to access them by clicking on the help link or the question mark next to the orange button. Sermon Audio is the largest repository of conservative Bible preaching to be found anywhere on the web today, and we have made an incredible number of feeds available. You can podcast by speaker, by broadcaster, by topic, by language, and by sermon series. We have even made it possible to podcast based on a keyword search. Our Plus and Full members can now podcast their favorites, making it even easier to keep up with their favorite speakers and churches, and even to craft their own feed of sermons found while browsing the site. In any event, podcasting is a powerful way for you to get the most out of Sermon Audio. So whenever you see the little orange button, take note. A podcast is just a few clicks away.